Well, hello, friends and neighbors. John, your whiskey neighbor here, and welcome to my deck. I actually meant to try to shoot something like this yesterday when I think pretty much all of Canada was expressing their love and sorrow and solidarity for the people in Nova Scotia. I just didn't get the chance. But after I was seeing so many of the expressions come out on the news, I knew that I needed to go out because I didn't have in my collection and buy something from the Glenora distillery from Nova Scotia and just share a dram. So today I'll open this up. Can't be a review, but I'll talk a bit about would be their entrance Canadian single malt. This is Fiddler's Choice from Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, from the Glenora distillery. Wow. Thanks for joining with me. It is a nice Saturday where I am here in Alberta. Sun comes out and then kind of goes away behind a cloud, but it's pretty nice. If you're not from Canada and you're not quite sure why I'm wearing red, or I'm trying to wear red, or why I have sought out something from Nova Scotia, you should know that Canada has, specifically Nova Scotia, has gone through a horrible tragedy where I think we're at least 22 people have lost their lives in a mass shooting, a shooting that has impacted so many lives and in such a horrific way. And I say again, just as a Canadian, if I in any way can be a support, I've certainly looked at ways that we can send more than just our love and our thoughts to people in Nova Scotia. I've been waiting some time to actually review something from Cape Breton. I believe, at least they claim, that they are the first producers of single malt in Canada. We have lots of craft distilleries now producing single malt, but I know they opened in 1990, and I think they changed owners around 1994. At least I think that's what I read on the website. But sadly, I haven't been there. In fact, I haven't been to Nova Scotia since I was about 4 years old. When I was 4, my family loaded us up into a Westphalia VW van, and we drove across Canada, as all Canadians should. And we definitely did visit Nova Scotia. I'd like to go back as an adult, though. Of course, I've met many people from there, and certainly would appreciate going back when we were through this pandemic that's keeping us here at home. I think that would be a great thing to do, to spend a vacation within country and maybe drive around and maybe make it out to Nova Scotia. I don't know enough about this particular Fiddler's Choice. It is bottled at 43, but there's no age stamp. And since they start their regular single malt range at 10 years old, 10 and then 12 is a 14 and a 15. I think they go all the way to 25 years now. I can only assume that this is pretty young. We'll see what the whiskey tells us in terms of age, but I'm going to expect it to be even as young as around 6 years old. The reason why they named it Fiddler's Choice, and I really like the box, is a tribute to a gifted fiddler and composer, John MacDougall, from 1925 to 2008. And then it gives a bit of a story of his impact on fiddling. And that is an interesting connection. As I was sharing in the opening, one of the absolute most moving tributes or expressions of support yesterday on Friday was Natalie McMaster when she fiddled along. When she fiddled along with that young girl who's not with us anymore. And I cried quite a bit because it was such an expression of love. And it was also so somehow wonderful to see that young girl try to encourage people that had to stay home during the pandemic with her fiddle playing. So I was clearly drawn to this bottle instead of one of the older ones when I just went out to pick up something. So it is a whiskey channel, so let's talk a little bit about whiskey. I guess aside from that it's non-age stamp, that it is single malt, and that it's aged in ex-bourbon, I don't know anything more about this. Colored, filtered, I always assume all of that unless it's clearly stated otherwise. Let's see what we got on the nose. It's actually a pretty inviting single malt type nose. Reminds me of a good Speyside. So we've got some orchard fruits come up. Pear, apple. There's a little bit of a spiciness to it. Not spicy per se, but a liveliness. Or maybe that's just, a maltiness. Maybe I'm getting just a core malt nose. Grain. Yeah, an oats, apple, oats. Sweet, honey. Pleasant. Little bit when I kind of back off, like when I'm going in pretty strong, I'm getting core at the whiskey, but when I kind of back off, I am getting a little bit of ethanols, a little bit of those high alcohols. Yeah, and some of that's building a little bit, the alcohol nature. Well, cheers. That was far more youthful on the mouth. Palate moved away from the really sweet and fruit and went more. Well, that first sip was a little bitter. I mean, that came up pretty quick. Lots of malt, lots of grain, cereal, more of that oat. I need to try it again and give it a little more of a fair shake there. Toffee, vanilla, more vanilla. A little bit of character coming out now, a little spicing, but not much, just a little bit of light oaking. Yeah, some wood tannins. Like, not tannins, that sounds different. What I think is a wood spice, a little bit of wood bite. Yeah. Finish is medium, light. It's a pretty light dram. So far in the experience, it's pleasant. The nose is what attracts me the most. Yeah, the nose seems kind of rich, and I think we're going to go places. But the palate isn't grabbing me right now. You can tell by my tone, I'm really at a loss for words, as I think all Canadians are. So I think I'll probably end my tasting here pretty quick. But I definitely want to lend my voice to any and all of the other Canadians that are talking to anyone in Nova Scotia who might see this. We want to stand with you. We want to be a support. If I can think of a group of people that stand up for each other, that hold family close, that know how to celebrate life, you are the top of that list. And my heart, my family to yours. We love, care, pray for the survivors around this horrible tragedy. And know that you will rebuild and be strong in the months to come. Thanks for joining me. I look forward to seeing how this opens up. And I know that I will also try more of their expressions too, just for history's sake. You know, they fought fought, maybe not the right word, they were in court for a long time with Scotch Malt Whiskey Society. Is that who it was? But anyways, that took exception to the idea of saying Glen on their bottles. Well, this one doesn't say Glen on it because they thought it was steering away from Scotch. But there's never on this bottle anywhere would you be led astray and not think that it is Canadian. You guys have a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in. All the best.